Israel's prime minister is headed to Congress next month. He's accepted an invitation from Speaker of the House John Boehner to address a joint session of Congress on Iran. Boehner says Benjamin Netanyahu will talk about the grave threats that radical Islam in Iran pose to our way of life. Well, right now, the Pentagon says it's ready to evacuate the U.S. Embassy in Yemen with military assets on standby if needed. This as Shiite rebels continue to run roughshod over that country. Now, the Yemeni president, who's considered an ally by the U.S., is basically locked in his home after the rebels defeated his guards. They've also seized a military base home to ballistic missiles. In the next few hours, Yemen's president is expected to yield to demands for constitutional changes and sharing of power. France is putting more money into anti-terror programs. The French prime minister today announced plans to spend nearly $500 million on boosting everything from intelligence gathering to prison services. This comes after last month's terror attacks in Paris that left 17 dead. Pope Francis is offering prayers for peace today.
Grazie il Signore.
Speaking at the Vatican, he says war must not be waged in the name of God. He specifically pointed to violence in Niger, where protests over Charlie Hebdo led to at least 15 deaths in fires in churches. Top American officials are in Cuba right now for 2 days of talks. Today, they focus on immigration policies. Tomorrow, they'll be talking about reopening embassies both in Washington and Havana. The president talked about Cuba in his State of the Union last night.
When what you're doing doesn't work for 50 years, it's time to try something new. And our shift in Cuba policy has the potential to end a legacy of mistrust in our hemisphere.
President also pushed for free community college for students and a tax cut for the middle class, while a tax hike on the wealthy. Iowa Senator Joni Ernst gave the Republican response.
Let's simplify America's outdated and loophole-ridden tax code. Republicans think tax filing should be easier for you, not just the well-connected.
President Obama hits the road today, selling his State of the Union plans in Idaho, his first visit to the state as president. And in the moments before the deadly crash of Air Asia Flight 8501, warning signs were screaming in the cockpit. That's according to the AFP, speaking to investigators listening to the cockpit voice recorder. Data shows the jet was climbing rapidly before it stalled and plunged into the Java Sea last month. Crews are getting ready to use giant balloons to try and lift the fuselage of the jet off the seafloor. Well, it appears that the Patriots may be in some real trouble over underinflated footballs. ESPN is reporting that nearly all the game balls supplied by the Patriots were underinflated. I'm Rick Blackwell. More news coming up at a half hour here on Newsmax TV.